Welcome back to the second episode of this conversation I'm having with Josie. A very interesting conversation, something that is resonating with persons out there who are neither male nor female, the hermaphrodites in our society, those who are in the closet when it comes to their sexuality, their genetical makeup, their genitalia. We are reaching out to you. We are giving you this information. So Josie, welcome back.
Nice to be here again. So in our last segment, I made mention of the attraction to females.
Right.
Right, and whatnot. So I just wanted to bring it back from that.
Yes, let's start there.
Yeah, because a lot of times, especially in schools, young teenage boys, young teenage girls, they start making fun of other students' sexual orientations.
Right.
Or preferences, right? Not understanding for themselves why they think this way, why they feel this way, and other students bullying them or laughing at them. It just escalates something that could easily be addressed once someone understands for themselves why they feel this way and why their body is this way. All right?
I want to make mention of sometimes a person becomes a bully because they themselves are going through that and they're hiding it.
True, or they're attracted to it.
Right, and they are attracted to it and they resonate with it, so they want to show the others that, hey, I am not like that.
Yeah.
But they're actually like that. So that is something that is very important.
All right. So one of the issues for me growing up, because my family wanted me to get married very young, because I have...
What is very young?
By age 16. Once I was...
They wanted you to be married by 16?
See, marriage, she off and done. It's actually what they would say. When this girl going to get married? And she finished with school, time to get married. And you know, this kind of way. But
so it was a pressure on you?
Yes, I was career-oriented. I was very focused on going to
education,
getting education. I wanted to be independent, my own house, car. You know, I wanted to have a job, a high-paying job and all of that. So I was very career-driven. And at the same time, my family wanted me to get married, right? And that was something that I didn't really feel was for me at age 16, right? So I thought I would go to school and prolong. As long as I could go to school, it means less marriage for me. Because what I also realized is that I wasn't attracted to wanting to have sex. For whatever reason, I felt fulfilled within my own self. Mm-hmm. And I just didn't feel like having someone. So the attraction to a male person wasn't associated with wanting to have sex or to procreate. The attraction to a male person was someone who showed dominance, who had the same career-driven goals, somebody who was, ambitious and all of that. I would be attracted to that. And that would turn into something meaningful. But seeing a guy and wanting to have sex with them was never the motivator in having a friend or talking with someone.
But what was your introduction to sex in terms of, when you were growing up, your teenage years? Was it something that you heard, something that you saw, movies, books?
Movies and books. Movies and
friends, peers? Talking about it?
Actually, to be honest, I would look at when my uncles and they were not home, I would sneak into their rooms and I would look at their magazines and
porn magazines,
videotapes to see what they were watching. I was young, and then I would see these things and be amazed by it. My first girl crush, to be honest, was Asia Carrera. She was a porn star that I super thought was beautiful because...
I met her.
You've met her? Oh my gosh, she's beautiful.
I have one or two photographs from her.
Oh my gosh, she's beautiful. And I didn't understand why I was attracted to a girl, but then I saw that she could not only play the piano, but she was almost a straight-A student.
Yes, she was.
So she wasn't just selling sex, but her aura was intelligence with it. So I realized that later on. And now some of these children, as they are growing, they don't understand why they are attracted to one person over this one. And they think they have to try everybody before
to get to that.
Right. And that just spoils things. You understand yourself, your genetic makeup, what makes you attracted to this person, that person. Spend some time on you, your understanding, and then you go right to that source. And it's good and meaningful between you and that person, and to go all around through all these other men and women. Experiences, and then you end up there, So it saves a lot of time to understand who you are. But again...
So you are analyzing yourself.
Right. Our country doesn't have, again, I say, the manpower or the technological resources to actually have people who experience certain psychological questions, issues, to know why they think that way or why they feel that way.
But do you think we need more people to come out?
We need, yeah, definitely. We need more experts in the field, and we need more technology. Because like I said, when they found out about my issue, I was probably about 24 years old. And that's only because the person who did it was a United States citizen, and he had the technology. A micro camera is very tiny, right? Almost like a speck of a dust. And they actually, with that size of camera, was able to see parts of me that
You wouldn't see ordinarily.
camera, right, or an ultrasound wouldn't pick up. And that's when they found out it was smaller than the size of a capillary. Now, capillary is the body's smallest vein, and this is smaller than that, right? So it raised a lot of questions. I was asked by an uncle, what would you like to be, a male or a female? I told him I'd identify with male. So the option he was offering me was sterilization. In case my body is able to produce spermatozoa in future, I could actually choose to be a girl and sterilize myself so I don't self-impregnate or impregnate other people and whatnot. So that was an option given to me. Now, my mother sat with me and she stated that it's my choice, right? If you want to be a male or female, or it's a God-given gift. God made you that way. If you want to stay that way, it's all good. But when they explained to her that the possibility exists that later on in life, she could actually self-impregnate, my mom became concerned because I can't be a baby popper, so to speak, popping out babies every year. So she said, you'll have to choose one, male or female. So I told her, well, female, because I'm a girl, ma. So everybody said, okay, we'll get her sterilized, she'll be a girl, and everything will be normal again. But unfortunately, there was an SOE, state of emergency, borders locked down, all sorts of craziness, and I never got to further my treatments or anything like that.
But were you producing sperm?
No. At that time, they said no. They said something of that nature would happen to me later on, like in my 30s. I'm 39 years old. And like I said, I have...
But you do have children?
Yes, but it's complicated.
No. Forget the complicated part.
Yes,
you had children the natural way, the normal way.
Yes, the normal way. All right? Their fathers took them because... they wanted their safety, because some people, like I said, they were saying I was a freak, and they were stating that the babies she made would be freaks, and they were actually contemplating hurting the children. So
You're kidding me.
I know this is serious, police involvement and whatnot. So they took their children to make sure they grew up in a safer environment and away from being known, because people would have associated them with being freaks. That is some serious.
So if the trait shows up later on, you're not to blame, the society is not to blame.
No.
It is their genetical makeup.
It is their genetic.
Well, let's go back to getting others to come forward, to let us maybe create something for those who are afflicted with this, who have this sort of situation, who has...
Because it's mild, moderate, and severe. Some people have an entire penis external. Some people just have...
They have the penis and the vagina, yes.
Right. So different levels, different shapes, as you said, and whatnot in your earlier video. So again, who do we have in our system medically qualified to be able to assess and to help provide some remedy, some treatment?
Well, I'm sure if we continue with this, there are those who are medically qualified, those who are open to this kind of discussion, whatnot, who will come forward, who will help us with this. I'm sure about that. There are those out there who have that knowledge, and they're willing to go further with the development of programs and whatnot to help others.
Right.
It's not always about money. I'll tell you something. There are professionals out there who are willing to do research and whatnot with these sorts of situations, to do a paper, to get that information out there, to help others, And we need to start doing that. There was a minister in the former government who approached me to start a school on sexology and to do these things. Unfortunately, he got out of power and he's no more. But I am sure there are others out there who will reach out to us, and I'm sure corporate Trinidad and Tobago would want to invest in something like this also. They would want to because it is a segment of society that nobody addresses.
That is correct. And like I was explaining earlier on, the stigmatization, because I've had situations where mothers have reached out to me indicating that their son had a female genitalia as well as a male, and they were afraid to put their son out there to the world to know this because they were afraid that they will treat them as a mama man, and those were their exact words. So not because someone has a male and female body part means that they are homosexual, right? If they identify being a man.
But what you're doing there to the child is you're teaching them to be reclusive. You're not interacting with people. You're not developing those social norms that is developed with a child going and interacting with others.
And it's their fear. It's their fear because a boy in the changing room changing his clothes and has a female part, what's to stop another boy from hurting him?
Correct.
Right? So it's the
And
fear of having them protected, you know.
And even if it slips up and he tells someone about it, he might trust a guy, and he tells this guy, and tomorrow they become enemies, and the guy spread the word that, you know, he has a vagina and a penis.
Right, and at that age, humiliation is not helpful in any way.
Correct.
Right? So these were actual parents, people that reached out to me when they heard my story, because they did a segment of it. I don't know all the details, but it was so quickly done, and it was aired in the United States. So these people wanted to be a part of it to get help because they saw that these people's work on me could be
helpful to
them and their situation. Correct. And plus, these were professionals, people who kept it very private, you know, and they actually had the correct technology. Some of these other people would sort of just play up with them and leave the children, you know.
Like more sexual abuse.
It's a form of probably inquisitiveness by the doctor, I don't know. But that's what they said. They just played up with the child.
No, that's why I am so thankful that you are brave enough to come here and sit and discuss this. I am thankful for that. The people out there would be very thankful for that, because there are parents out there, there are mothers who know that about their child, and they want to have an avenue to say, Dr. Raj, this is my child, what you describe it. We don't need to make it public, but we can help the child.
Yes.
We can help you. We can help you to understand certain things.
Correct. And then there's doctor-patient confidentiality. So by law, if people reach out and we have the proper facilities and manpower, they will be protected, all right, by law. But again, if it's not structured or in existence, they won't have much protection or service, right? So that's the main concern about hermaphrodism that I have a problem with, because like I said, people have reached out to me and they have indicated these issues, and I myself...
Have you ever spoken to someone who is actually going through this, a male or a female?
Yes, I spoke to a gentleman. He had a womb, like I told you. They didn't want him playing on the boys' sports team because they thought he was female. Embarrassingly enough, he reached out, and years later, somebody hurt him. And I was quite angered by it because he has a penis, but literally no vagina. But internally, he has a womb.
He has the plumbing.
So there's no opening to him as a woman would have. And this person literally had him via his rectum and was indicating that he's a girl. And they didn't take the time to understand who he was and whatnot. And it wasn't consensual either. Just because they knew he had a womb and he was a hermaphrodite in his way, they hurt him.
You know, that could lead persons to suicide also.
Right? It's disgusting and it's embarrassing and it's very hurtful that people want to come out, but they're being treated that way by people who find out, right? So, like I said, it's something quite touchy. This is just one case that I was privy to because the gentleman grew up. I met him in high school, and later on in life he grew up, and he was explaining to me that, you know, life is normal, you could still, you know, what and what. And people just took advantage of it. And he was just trying to relate his experience and let me see
and live
that he's living, you know, he's living. It's not the end of the world. Because that is what I thought when I first found out who's going to love me now? Right? I was so afraid that nobody was going to ever love me. That this was going to be the worst thing in life. Because I'm already black. I'm already, not of a high standard of living in terms of my upbringing and all of that, very humble roots. My education at that time was not at the PhD level or anything like that. So everything that would put me at a very good stance in life, I wasn't reaching it. And then this comes and happens. I'm wondering, well, now that's it. Who's going to love me now? So that's one of the main issues too of these girls and boys when they reach their young adulthood. Who is going to love me knowing these parts to me? Am I going to genuinely have true love, or is it that someone's just going to objectify my body? They just want the excitement of who I am, right? Normal people have that issue, much more, for people who have these genetic makeups, right? So yeah, that's another issue, because taking it from phases, childhood to young adult, to teenage years, to young adulthood, each issue that a normal child has while going through, each area, they experience it, but because of it having to be a secret, they don't get it truly addressed. They partially, but it's not fully addressed. And then you have that, like I said, I was never attracted to the opposite sex for long. In that I might be interested in someone, oh, he's nice, she's nice, they're handsome, they're beautiful, I like to know of you, I get to talk to you, couple conversations, and after that, I'm normal again. There's no more excitement.
It's not a continuation.
Intriguing for me to pursue or have that person pursue me. Mm-hmm. And I didn't understand that either. And everybody used to say, something wrong with you, your psyche, something wrong with your psyche. Normal people don't move that way. It's because I don't know if it's the hormones that I feel satisfied within myself, and it comes across as being selfish. But most women depend on a man for some satisfaction of some need. Most men depend on a woman for some satisfaction or need. If you're both, there's not much emotional or, anything that person could probably give you that you feel that you can't give to yourself, because those aspects, both sides, are more or less what is in you, what makes you up, all right?
But you're talking about one end of the spectrum. Mm-hmm. You have the other end of the spectrum where the person sexualize themselves, mm-hmm. become highly sexual aroused because of that genetical makeup, because of that change within their bodies, because they are able to enjoy sex both ways. Yeah. Right?
It takes a lot of mind control and a lot of practice. Because I remember when I was in high school, like my teachers, if my male teachers come to class, and depending on how they behave, whatever, I might be aroused by some of the language that they used and whatnot.
Was that a physical arousal or a mental?
A physical and mental arousal, right? Something about them being sophisticated and teaching, you get aroused by it. And then I noticed on the flip side, the same thing happened with the female teachers. I remember teachers were being told to wear longer clothes, cover up, because you're making the children aroused.
Yes.
But even if they put on their clothing and...
You still see the physical structure.
You still, not just the physical structure, but their intelligence with
intelligence.
it, right? So with that in mind, it's difficult to actually sit with kids and coach them. Right? Because I remember...
You're wondering what they're thinking?
Yeah. I remember me thinking, Lord, am I a lesbian? Because I would actually pray and ask God. Growing up, I was always taught to, anything you want to know, ask God, tell God, pray to God. So I would go all in the bathroom, wash my face, and ask, what's happening to me? Because in my own self, as myself, I wanted to love me. Aroused by that, but wanted to be with me. And I couldn't understand it. And I'm thinking masturbation is wrong. And that's gross. And I wanted to know
why. Is it wrong?
I kept touching myself. Yeah, I would literally touch myself and actually...
But that's because of religious training.
I don't know. Right? Yeah. Religious training. Love yourself. Be, you
and
stay by yourself. Is wrong. Yes, but masturbation is wrong. Correct. So I really didn't understand why I was so into touching myself. I was always touching, always touching. Even in class, I would be, touching myself like that in the middle of class and not understanding what was happening to me by my own self.
Feeling up yourself.
Feeling up myself in class. Yeah, I was doing it the British way. So teachers thought that I couldn't handle the workload. They said she's always
stressed.
rubbing her.
She's stressed out.
Right. That time
But
I'm touching up
it is a
myself
physical,
in class.
it is a sexual
Yes,
stress.
it was a sexual stress more than it was educational stress. So, like I said.
So they're misinterpreting your physical traits.
Right. My physical behavior.
Yeah, physical behavior. They're not understanding that.
Right.
So they don't know how to equate it with anything else.
Right. So they presume that the teachers were not appropriately dressed. They presumed the workload was too much, but they didn't understand
Everything else as to what is actually happening.
Right. So never before was any solution or recommendation that was suitable to the issue given. Right? Yeah. Yeah. Coming to think of it, that happened quite a lot in high school because that's the time your hormones start raging. Eh?
Correct.
Yeah. I didn't realize I was
And that was male and
doing
female
that to
hormones.
myself. Correct. Right? So I didn't even, as I'm talking to you, I just came upon that realization that is what I was doing to myself.
Well, that's why this program is important, Persons talk to me, they come and they sit and talk to me, and then they come to the realization, wait a minute, this is what was happening to me, Dr. Raj. And I say, I didn't say anything. You continue.
Whoa, look at that. So, yeah. Now, there's an issue. There's a particular student that I realize could possibly be a hermaphrodite.
Right.
All right. There are certain issues, particular days they would ask to use the washroom. And if I say, no, you can't use the washroom, apparently wanting to urinate causes that sensation.
Yes.
Right. And the child becomes very
irritated.
But
Jumpy
something
and
about their facial expression looks, you're enjoying this feeling. And then I noticed other girls in the class would start to harass her. They would start poking her, they would start pulling at her. She's not even going in their way. The child is sitting, the child is doing her work, she just is
Or maybe they're picking up on something.
the feelings, the hormones, the smell, I don't know. But
Yeah, well, of
if
course
she's aroused,
yes.
they are getting the right. And being both male and female, the girls now are attracted to it.
So you actually physically see this?
I actually physically see this. So that's what
Have you ever approached the student?
No, I'm a bit of afraid too because I feel like it's not my place. But as a teacher and as someone who has been through it in high school, I could see my students and understand what they're going through. I was looking at some videos on the internet with a girl who kept scratching. She kept itching. Apparently, she's still pure. And because of the shape of her body, she can't reach that part to scratch. So she's always itching herself on the outside and it looks bad. Very embarrassing. But once she starts having sex and that starts opening up, they'll be able to address that area.
Because it does have an itch in the vagina with arousal.
You see, all of that.
So sometimes the penis, because of the shape of the penis, the head of the penis, it creates that friction.
Right.
So the itch goes away.
Right.
So you do get, sometimes arousal and horniness comes with an itch.
Okay.
An internal itch. Sometimes the penis is itching also.
But
it's not a scratch.
No.
There's a difference.
No. But it does create a level, especially if you have to concentrate in a classroom, a level of discomfort and distraction, and it's being picked up by the other students because they would leave their seats and go after the child.
Again, because of the pheromones.
Right, they're sensing it. So you see, how do we get the children to respect other people?
But children don't respect boundaries, You know that.
True, to some degree.
But if they're educated about it,
exactly,
they'll start telling themselves, well, this person is going through something.
Right.
Let's give him or her their space.
Right.
Let's not interfere with them. Let's not, move into their space. Let's leave them alone. Right. Some would do that. The bullies would.
Right.
So you have to understand that also about children.
Correct. So.
But what happens with adults?
I don't know. How do you approach a parent as a teacher to explain to the parent that I think your child
You don't.
is
What you do is, no, you ask the parents what they are noticing.
Okay.
You start having that conversation with the parent if they're noticing anything different about their child, if they're noticing anything different about the behavior, all right, related to the development of the child, and if so, that they expound on it with you, show that concern, show that level of understanding, and say, maybe I may have a solution for you, I may have an answer for you, right? But feel out the parent and know if the parent is okay with the answer.
Because as it stands, the Education Act, nor the Ministry of Education's policies and procedures have anything to address an issue like that.
I know that.
So in this country, literally, they have no form of protection or source of comfort or, you know.
But the teacher has no form of protection either.
True. That's true too.
But they do ask teachers to observe.
Yes.
And if you are observing something, I think instead of reporting something, I may be wrong, and again, I don't know the law when it comes to that, you have the conversation with the child's parent or guardian.
Yes.
And just a basic non-sexual conversation and find out if they're noticing things about the child, if they're noticing things about, you know, the behavior of the individual, and then you can take it a step further. Or then you can direct them to Dr. Raji Sexologist YouTube channel and say, look at it.
A great source of information, a credible source, might I add.
I had to plug that in. No, but I think, again, not because I am doing this now, but because I've been doing this for 35 plus years, I think that persons need to look at this, need to watch all the videos in its entirety to understand the different aspects and concepts of things that are sexual. I believe that. So you will see segments of this on TikTok, you'll see segments of this on Instagram, and you'll see the entire video on YouTube, where you can sit down and look at it and analyze it from your perspective. You don't have to take everything I say to be the law. You don't have to take everything that we say here to be the truth for you. But you can extract that bit of information and see how it applies to you and your situation and your child's situation. And there are adults outside out there. Let's move away from the child now. There are adults out there who are battling with this.
Yes.
Because they have never been given the opportunity to express themselves, to talk about the things that are happening to them, what's happening to their feelings.
And not just that, a lot of people too are afraid of exploitation. In the pornography business, that's big business.
Yes, but not in Trinidad.
Right?
There's no money to be made in Trinidad.
In Trinidad, but away, if someone goes away,
OnlyFans and those things is crap.
their chance of getting employment or pictures being paid for whatever is a greater chance.
But that is you're 18 years of age. You get an opportunity to act in a porn to show that you have both genitalia and you can have sex with both male and female. Big money.
Yeah.
That's big money.
Because you're exotic.
Right, correct. Right. If you choose to do that, that's your choice. Because there are persons who leave Trinidad, go to the United States during their summer vacation and whatnot, go and work in these clubs, striptease and whatnot, and come back to Trinidad with money in their pocket.
Yeah, big house, big car, and living it up. But again, as people from a religious society and an educated society, that's not the image they want. They want to be considered people. They want
you'll be surprised how many people do it.
Right?
I can tell you how many people do it. There are persons who make local porn for the outside market, for collectors. It's not shown in the public. No one will ever see it. And they get paid. And they're happy with that. There are those who... We have a lot of Trinidadian women who are on OnlyFans and Chatterbait and all those things. Because they're making money. But the money that they can make with total exposure, that's something different. But that's for the adults to decide. That is not my place.
Yeah, I agree. But what I'm saying, what about those who don't want that? But people find out that they are
Exploitation.
exotic and they start pushing them down.
No, but you could have exploitation also. Yes, you have those who are exploited, but it is up to you to say yes or no.
Trust me.
In anything that you're doing. Okay, if somebody having a cigarette.
That's a sophisticated society where we respect people's wishes and respect who they are. There are some people, it's all about the money.
Yeah, but in Trinidad, you have a little more protection because in America, once you're 18, your parent kicks you out of the home. We have 20, 25, 45-year-old men and women living with their parents still. So it's a level of protection.
And you see, I have had a few people from the US talk to me and they said once you are out of your parents' home, the first type of job they offer you is something in a club, a bar.
Of course.
You know,
a waitress, exotic dancing, all those things. That's the first job you go to.
Right.
Even when you're in university, there are persons who go on, there are strippers and their escorts and other things in the sexual market while they're going to university. Now they may become a professional later on in life. You know?
Yeah.
They might be a CFO or a CEO of a company and whatnot, but that's what they did at that time.
True.
But that's, as you say, that is for a sophisticated society. In the Trinidad society, there are those who explore themselves sexually, and this is where I can attest to, based on their needs and wants sexually, based on the hormones that are raging through them. There are women who are very important in society, but they need a sexual fix once a month, once for the week, once for the year. They need a sexual fix. It's like an addiction. Right. So you have men and women who behave that way, and you have those who provide the service, and you have those who want the service. So you can't knock that either. Because let's say, for example, this person who's sheltered all their life, don't interact with others, they will call you a freak, whatever, and you realize that you have developed a high sense of sexuality. You have this great horniness about you. What do? Do you exploit and make money out of it? Or do you just grow old and, as we say, cobwebs start to grow there? You understand? You don't explore that part of your body. You have that choice. There are persons who have a high sex drive and they don't touch themselves, you know.
True.
But what happens with them? They become dry, they become bitter. I'm not talking about physically dry, I'm talking about internally, mentally, physically, emotionally dry. Right? They become what you call a super bitch. Right? These are the things that the extremes are there. So the exploration of those things is dependent on the individual. Yes, there are those who will try to exploit you if they know about it, but what if they don't know about it? You can still do things privately. You can still do things for yourself to satisfy that want that you have, that need that you have, and it's on the down low. You keep it on the wrap.
Right. That's the thing, respect of privacy. And
Respecting yourself.
But you see, how do you get privacy when your situation warrants you going out and talking about it, whether with a doctor, specialist, whatever?
Well, that's a privacy, because once you talk to a professional, it's private. But if you talk to your peers, like example I gave before, if you go and tell your best friend that I feel to have sex with both male and female, she keeps that a secret as long as you are friends. But when that friendship breaks,
she tells everybody.
Exactly. You know, she like this, she like that. Let me give you good examples. I've been in this arena for, I said, 35 years plus. There are persons who tell me things about themselves in their marriage, what they like to do, what they wouldn't like to do, what they have done. And years after, I still have that secret, because it is not my place to repeat that to anyone, including the spouse. There are workers that I come across who I have their deepest, darkest secret because they open up to me.
Right.
And they will leave the job because they got angry, because they don't like their wages or whatever. But I have that information, but I wouldn't use it against you. Because I know at the time you trusted me. And if you trust me with something now, why would I break that trust later on, even though you are angry with me?
Right.
But you would know I have that information. So that's being professional. And a true professional will understand that. Even though I have damaging information on you, politically or otherwise, I will not give that to anybody else, because at the time you trusted me with that information. But how many persons could be that professional?
Exactly, and ethical.
Yes. That's another thing. My integrity is my integrity. There are persons who will meet me years down the line, and they will come and shake my hand and say, hey, you remember when you take out the picture with me and my wife and thing? I say, yeah, I was 17 years of age. And I went and developed the film and bring it back to you. And I didn't even keep a picture. Right? Because you asked me to do something for you and you trusted me. So, again, it's you, you know. You have to make you. So sometimes when people say things about me on the outside, I look at them and smile and say, boy, if you only know. But I don't have to defend myself, because I could not be in this profession for so long. In all aspects of it, I deal with sex. When somebody asks me, what do you deal with? I deal with sex. How you want to take that is your business, but I deal with sex. But I can tell you, I have sexual secrets of everyone that I encounter who trust me enough, and you will never hear it on the outside.
Right.
So this is where we have to start. We need to start there. We need to get that information out there to people that, hey, you have an avenue where you can actually
Be heard.
be heard.
And respected.
Of course. Of course.
This is where the education system should come in the schools where, like, let's say from Form 3 to 5, and educate students.
Yes.
But that's a challenge. I'll tell you something. Before I even had my PhD, I used to go to schools and lecture. I was invited because of my program, SEXPLOSION. And sometimes I will go and talk to the Form 1s, and they will start asking sexual questions, and the teachers will say, how do they know about that? I say, well, sometimes they will say, so I haven't sex since primary school, you know. And they were blown away by that. But there were changes made to the Education Act where we cannot go and do that anymore. You cannot do that.
No. Actually, sex, it has been taken off the health and family life education curriculum.
That's why
You can't
society is
talk
like
about
this
it.
today.
Well, that's why we need SEXPLOSION.
Correct. Correct.
That's why this program is needed, so that we can get that information out there. Now, we're not encouraging children to listen to the program, but you cannot tell a child not to look at porn.
Correct.
You cannot tell a child what to search or what not to search, because everything is there in the World Wide Web. There was a charge in Trinidad for the importation of pornographic material. I was charged many times, and I won all my cases against customs. And the last time an officer came to me with that, I said, let me tell you something. Are you going to charge TSTT at that time for allowing people to watch porn on their phone because they could get it through the internet? He looked at me and he said, what are you talking about? I said, but anybody could get porn anywhere now. I said, it's not the book and magazines that people bring in anymore. You could just type in SEX on your phone or porn, and then he come up and I show it to him. I said, you want to charge me? No, go ahead and charge them. He said, I'm too managed. I said, I'm managed. I know what I'm talking about. Do it. Let's go to court again. Let me cut all the tail there again. That is being managed. But again, because our people are so dumb, especially those in authority, and I say it openly, they're dumb. They don't know how to apply the law, and they don't understand what is taking place in society. That's why all these charges with importation of sexual toys, and we win in court. But yet still they'll seize my goods, you know, for wickedness. For wickedness it's being done. Because there are people who have a vendetta against anyone who wants to educate anybody about sex. Because of their religious upbringing, and I say it openly, because of their religious upbringing or because of their standards in society. Not because of what is needed in society. So you have those who legislate and make laws and whatnot because they don't understand. But they may be doing things on the down low, you know. And that's the strange thing about our society. They don't address the issues the way they're supposed to address the issues. You could imagine somebody going in parliament as a senator or whatever, right, in the Senate, and saying, let's change the laws when it comes to sex. The first thing they're going to say, he's a pervert or she's a pervert. They're not going to hear what the person has to say after that, you know. But they're going to put a label of that individual when they say, let's take buggery off. Let's do this, let's do that. Let's understand they are homosexuals in our society and they have sex with one another. Penis to anus. But they're going to say, what they're going to say? People are going to say, he perverted, or he gay, that's why you want to take it off. They start to blame you because you are understanding society, they'll label you like that. You know what people just call me gay because I talk about anal sex and whatnot? Go ahead. I know who I am. I know what I'm about.
The ignorance again.
Total ignorance.
And as I said, once you talk sex, it's a taboo. They think you're a bad person or they push you down that light.
You're perverted.
You're a bad person.
Simple. Someone knows you are working with Dr. Raj. You know the image they gave you.
Yeah, immediately. It's not an easy thing to work with me. I know that. Because when you tell someone I'm working with Dr. Raj, like, so you just have plenty sex?
That's the first thing comes to their mind.
Commonly, but I remember telling someone, Dr. Raj, and I left it at that. That's all.
Of course.
The man is qualified.
That's my qualification. That's what I deal with. I've been dealing with sexology in Trinidad and Tobago for 35 years. So the wealth of knowledge that I have, others don't have that. The experiences that I have, others don't have that. The people that I talk to on a daily basis through my profession as a sexologist, others don't have that. I get information every single day. And I learned, this is what I'm telling you, although I've been studying sex for all these years, 40 plus years, I'm still learning. I'm learning from you, I'm learning from society, I'm learning from the comments, I'm learning from these things. How many of you can say that? Some of them stop learning after a while. I know everything about sex. There's nothing you could tell me about that I don't know. And I look at them and say, I could tell you something that will blow your mind. Even about yourself. Because I watch their traits, I watch their mannerism, I watch their behavior. I already analyze you. I could tell you things and you'll deny it because it might be in a public forum.
Right.
But then I know I've touched a nerve. But I don't do it, I just leave it alone. I say, you as you more educated than me, I bow to you. Go on. So we need to continuously do this. And again, this is where I think you're very brave. This is where I would like to congratulate you for that.
I'm being brave for my children, the ones that I teach and the ones that I gave birth to. I want them to see and know so they could understand themselves. Something we were denied of and still are in the system. You know, that's the main reason I'm doing this.
Well, that's important. It is important to get that information out there to help others. And when you help others, that is a blessing in itself. When you help others, because nobody addressed this, no one in Trinidad and Tobago, the Caribbean, or even the wider world has come forward and said, let's help. Let's do this. Let's create a program where people can come and express themselves, give their information, get information, help themselves to be better at whatever they're doing.
Right.
Sexplosion to me is very important. And it's something I want the corporate Trinidad and Tobago to support. I want you to support. It's a cost factor, like everything else.
Yes. Well, hopefully our segments will be heard and some government official or some business person will take it very seriously, and a collaboration could be done that could bring more awareness. Someone once told me there's power in numbers.
Correct.
So the
Always.
more we get people who are sensible and open-minded, mature, you know, to come together, then these children and people such as myself could get the medical attention that is needed.
And that is something that is important. The medical research, development, attention, treatment, whatever it is important. You see all kind of things advertised. Eat this chocolate bar and you'll get an erection. Rub this on your penis and your penis is going to get bigger. All these things are false. So the same thing, something will come up, hey, you're hermaphrodite, put this, it will vanish. Somebody's going to come up with something to make money and exploit others. But these things don't work. The only thing that works is education and proper research and treatment. Full stop. So I want to thank you again for being here, for giving your information, for expounding on the things of being a hermaphrodite. Even if it's in this end of the spectrum and you have the other end of the spectrum, but you have come out here, you're giving this information to the public, you're interacting with me, and we have more segments of Sexplosion in the future. Of course, you're going to come back. There are things that we are going to do that is going to make this something that is very powerful for society. See you soon.